For Vancouver, Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor to bring forward the following motion. Be it resolved that this House recognize the historic and present-day acts of structural, systemic, and institutional racism perpetuated against racialized people and reaffirm our commitment to combating racism in all its forms. Mr. Speaker, March 21st, 2021 was the International Day to Eliminate Racism. On this day every year, we stand in solidarity against racism. But that is not enough. Last year, like many times before, people filled the streets in a collective outcry against racism. Indigenous, Black, and people of color marched like they have done for centuries, their bodies and their spirits tired of carrying the burden of oppression and the racist systems that work against them. How many times and when will it be enough? The answer to that question continues to elude us even till today, as we stand here a few days after 8 people, including 6 Asian women, lost their lives and their families destroyed, while a local police officer characterized the shooter as having a bad day. We continue to mourn these lives and the countless others lost, and we ask, when will it be enough? There's no more important place to ask these questions than these halls and this chamber. Over the 150 years since BC joined Canada, these walls have hosted hundreds of MLAs, witnessed countless debates, and passed many pieces of legislation. For many decades, the resources and power of this chamber were fully devoted to one mission. As the former Premier, Sir Richard McBride stated, British Columbia shall be a white man's province. And MLAs, our predecessors, were ruthless in their pursuit of this mission. There's too much legislation to name it all. In fact, in order to limit Asian and South Asian immigration to Canada, from 1872 to 1928, MLAs in these chambers passed 89 separate bills and 49 resolutions, 7 reports, and much more. There are no Hansard records that recorded it, but I want you all to imagine the debate that occurred in these walls when this legislation was passed. And there are also no shortage of examples of the impact of these actions. Indigenous people dispossessed of their lands, the full force of the colonial structures against them and their bodies, unable to fight for their rights in court. The Chinese head tax passed against Chinese immigration, $40 per year, turned a breathing tax. Order in Council 469, authorizing the dispossession of all the property of Japanese Canadians in this province and relocating them away from their homes. Kamagata Maru and South Asian immigration and hundreds of South Asians fighting for their rights over decades just to be treated equally. Former Black slaves that fled the States to Canada only to face discrimination and laws that were operating against us or against them. There are also no shortage of heroes who took on this place and never gave up their fight for equality, and they continue to come to us today. We, as MLAs in the 42nd Parliament, now inherit this history fully and completely, with the obligation to make this right. Every mandate letter issued by this government puts as a priority anti-racism, because it is not enough for us to condemn racism. We must use our position to dismantle the systems that were created in these very walls and tear down the barriers that were deliberately put into place to oppress Indigenous, Black, and people of color. And there is still so much more work to do. Whether it's our racism in our healthcare system, police reform, combating the rise of anti-Asian hate, or true reconciliation with Indigenous people. Just a few short days ago, anti-Semitic posters were found plastered all over Kelowna. One day, it must be enough. We must be able to conquer hate and racism in all its forms. And I hope that all of my colleagues will join together in this work so we can make this province better for all people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.